Sally, you got to turn your mic on.
Call to order. You wanted a roll call vote? Rita?
Here.
Steve? Craig?
Here.
You're not showing. There you are. You weren't showing on my screen yet. And I'm here, and that's all we've got, right now?
Yep.
Dave, are there any additions?
I'm
to
here.
the agenda? Oh, Paul. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Well, I forwarded you along an email from a Canadian, from Brian Dubois. We can just talk about that under the Parks report.
Okay. Then is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
And did Steve say that?
I said, so moved.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Craig. Are there any discussion points anyone wants to bring up? Favor, we will go with roll call. Rita?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
Sally? Aye. Okay. Review the July minutes from the 7th and the 24th. Hopefully you had a chance to look through them. Are there any corrections or comments?
I didn't see any.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve those two sets of minutes?
I'll motion to approve those two park board minutes.
Thank you, Rita. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Craig. Hearing no comments earlier, I'm assuming there's no need for discussion. So all in favor, Rita?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, sorry.
You said aye, didn't you? Craig?
Yeah. Aye.
And me. So let's move on to the golf report with Paul.
Okay, we were talking a little bit earlier about the report, and looks like we're pretty much across the board are up. Our membership is up. Looks like about 15. We're at for this year we're up 15. We're up about 21% for membership, and then for daily rounds too. That's been good, and we're up like 17% right now on that. So I mean things are going good. The course is in good shape. We're getting a lot of play from a lot of daily rounds from people that are up in the area, not just members. I was talking with Eric about the sign-in sheet, and it looks like about 75% of the people on the sign-in sheet are visitors. So that'll turn out to be good advertising, good future business. The course is in good shape and people are having an experience. So it's going well so far.
Good.
I did learn one thing about the fourth sign that I couldn't find. I talked to a lady at the county highway department who told me that somewhere along the way, we had planned to have a sign just past the intersection of Fifth Avenue West and the Gunflint Trail, that just as you go around the corner there, that would say golf course 2 or 3 miles, whatever it was from there. And somewhere along the way, the woman said that it fell out of being done. It wasn't ordered, or she said somebody in the city didn't want it. I couldn't get anything that was authoritative, but all I know is there's not a fourth sign, and I don't really know what happened to it. Dave, did you pay the full $200 or something less, or did they rebill us?
I've never received an invoice for those signs.
Well, I think you should wait till you do.
That's right.
Patrick, do you have any knowledge about what might have happened to that sign? Did it come through your ken in the city?
I don't have any. I can
Okay,
ask about
well,
it
If you could inquire, I kind of thought the idea was a sign was a good thing, and I haven't heard any reason why it wasn't done. Just that it didn't happen. Thank you.
Are there other comments about the golf report or questions?
The only thing that was at all mildly unhappy was the number of adult single season passes went down from 40 to 36. And I don't know whether that means people had life crises or died or what, but I was delighted to see the increase in the number of junior memberships and student passes and all that sort of thing. It looks to me like there's just a higher energy level surrounding the course this year, and that's great.
Which brings me to another question I was asking Paul about for the board. Is there a possibility to have a end of season pass for the golf course instead of paying the full, season for people that want to play in the fall when it's not so busy with the tourists? Is there an end of season pass?
I have
Second
a
pass.
similar thought, which was that, if maybe sort of a half season pass that you might sell for 2/3 price. I'm not sure I want to go to the complexity of having just a fall pass, but people come when they're new. If they're new, they get some kind of discount, don't they?
Well, we did have something, a lower fee for first time pass holders.
They had that
Golf courses.
last year, I think.
Pardon me?
I was just saying a lot of golf courses do have a fall pass.
A fall pass? Okay.
What time of year would that go into effect, Rita?
Usually goes in August 1st.
Oh.
Yeah, and if it went in August 1st and we charged them for half the season, that would be a profit maker for us, and it would be a reduced price for them and would increase play.
Yeah.
If we tried it and it didn't work out for some reason, we can always change our mind.
That's true. Yeah, I think that might be a good option.
Well, I'll propose a fall pass for our golf course, a fall season pass, starting August 1st to the end of the season at half the regular rate then.
Is that for, I'm just trying to think here. Like, I'm just thinking we've got a couple of visitors here that are juniors and they're vacationing in town for a couple of weeks. So they just went ahead and got a season pass for
June.
For $99, and they're going to play a bunch of golf while they're here. So
Well, that's still cheaper than what would half the season pass be, Paul?
well, in their case, it'd be $50, right?
We wouldn't classify breaking it down on any age group. It would just be a fall pass. So whatever the rate is.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. All right. Yeah, we'd probably just base it off an adult single rate then. Maybe do a half rate.
I was thinking if August 1st is basically midpoint in the season, so I would think the charge ought to be 60%, not 50%.
Okay.
So I would, if there's nobody else has any contrary notion, I would move that we adopt a late season August 1st and after season pass for 60% of the usual season rate.
I still
And
think
that
it
would
should
be for all passes, for all age categories and so on?
right. Anybody that wants to come in and just play for the fall. but I think it should just be half because
I
really,
think that's a somewhat more complicated discussion. Maybe we could do just this one, and then go on to the question of whether we want to make it apply to everything. I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts about that?
what is an adult single season pass? Or what is an adult pass?
It's about $460 or so, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So it'd be about 230 is half.
Yeah, I think it's about with the carts and everything. I think it was about $850 all said and done.
Yeah, and I was thinking 60% rather than 50% because the people are coming to us late. We're doing them a favor, I think, as well as generating business for ourselves. And I think it's enough of a cut in price that people would do it.
Mm-hmm.
To August 15th. So when do we close the golf course? In October, right?
Well, it depends on weather. Yeah,
Weather.
I mean, October 1 is sort of the base date, but you know, if the weather's good, you know, you can go longer. I think a lot of northern courses will you know, set somewhere during the end of the first week, maybe the second week of October to close up.
Mhm.
I've always sort of thought it would be October 15th unless the weather goes crappy.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to have a reduced 60% rate as of August 1st for season pass. Is there a second to that motion?
I guess I'll second that.
Okay.
And just to be clear.
Is there any other
it's
discussion on that?
Not a 60% reduction, it's a 40% reduction to 60% of the full season rate.
Well, are we
Yes.
talking 60% or 50%?
Yeah,
My motion was 60.
motion for 50. So that was my original motion. 50.
Okay, so you had said 50 originally.
I did, and then Steve had 60. So I don't know.
I think, personally, I think the 50% would have a better chance of attracting a new golfer than the 60%, if money is something that is a factor for them.
I agree. It's just easier to figure out.
So,
Yep, I think that'd be fine. And I mean, anybody that's serious about trying to get enjoying golf throughout the season, they're going to want to get a full season pass.
For sure.
For that. And then the other thing is that it'd be good. I mean, assuming that we go ahead with this, it'd be good to try to follow up with some sort of marketing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's a lot of people too in town that just don't even choose to want to fight a busy golf course and tend to go towards the end of the season anyway. And, so I don't know if that will attract people, to go up there. And they haven't thought about it all summer because they've been busy or whatever's been going on. But
Okay.
So Steve, are you and we both put a motion out there? Are you okay if we go with a percent rather than 60% on a motion? Steve?
I can live with 50% and see how it works. If we feel that it doesn't do the job or does it too well, we can always change it.
Well, and I think our goal is to increase membership and get more faces there. So
yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second somehow between Rita and Steve. Now we'll have a roll call vote. Rita?
Aye.
50% reduction. Aye. Steve?
Aye.
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
Okay, and I support that as well.
I have one question for Paul. When you're selling a full season pass, do you see people buying those early in the year?
Well,
because
here,
if we're going to do a half, like let's say 3 weeks ago you had 5 or 6 people buy a season pass, and now we come out with this. I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. I mean, we already passed it, and I get that, but I just don't want to cause any,
For the record, we had only like 7 people buy season passes in July, and
Okay.
the big numbers were in April and May.
Okay.
and some of the people were, not able to get back because of personal reasons or whatever.
Okay.
But still went ahead and got their membership. So I think there was some of that going on. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think we'd be okay there.
Okay. I'm just, I think it's a good idea. I just want to make sure.
It's a good
It's in.
point. I mean, you don't want to make people mad that have been long-term members, so that's a good point.
And just for clarity now, just to clarify the motion, it's 50% off across the board on the memberships, or just for the single adult membership?
The single adult membership, if it's cheaper for somebody else to buy that instead of their membership or whatever, it's just the single adult membership would be half price, not the membership.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so that motion carried. Is there anything, Craig, from the council actions that pertains to the park board?
Let me see, am I on here? Yeah. No, the only thing from the park board is we just continued the discussion that we had already had on the Lions Club for the fisherman's picnic food and that kind of thing, and they all came forth with the right stuff, and that's over now. But everything we talked about that's the same thing we talked about at our meeting. The only thing new.
And it sounds like they had a successful sale, so that's good.
Yeah, it worked out a little bit. They were able to make some money for the Lions Club, which is kind of nice. It's hard. It's nobody wants to lose that revenue because it's their main money making thing for the year.
Right.
So I'm glad that they put something together anyway that worked.
Craig, I noticed there was 2 other food trucks. Was that a policy then for the city that you brought up in our last meeting, that all food trucks would have to do a COVID plan or something?
Yeah, the only thing, I brought that up with Mike Roth, and I think that, they have to get the permit and then they have to provide a plan.
Okay,
That's part of their permit.
gotcha.
And anybody who brings a food truck in, that's what they're gonna have to do.
Okay,
So that's what the city made them do.
thank you.
Okay. Well, we're on to the 2020 season update. And
Yeah.
Dave.
Thanks, Ellie. Hopefully everyone got what we sent out earlier today. We got the golf financials and then the parks report for August. Another solid month. July felt like we didn't have room to grow in years past, but guess what? Tenters put us over the top, and you can see the results here on the income being over 300,000. That's up 14% from last year. So over about $40,000 we gained in July, and so we're whittling away on that. Where we had a year-to-date deficit a month ago at about just over 100,000. Now we're down to 65,000 short versus last year due to those early season cancellations and refunds and being closed for May. So yeah, very strong demand, very solid service on the staff side. I really want to give a big thank you and appreciation to our staffers because they've been just great. Custodians have been great. The office has been great. Everybody's doing a really good job down here. We've extended some cleaning hours. We're doing some really early morning cleaning in the bathhouses, like at 6 a.m., trying to get in there before the rush hour after 8. So really, really, really appreciative of our cleaners right now, and all of our staff is doing a good job. The guests, we've been keeping an eye on them pretty closely here with our new rules, our COVID rules. We're handing out at the door or at the window now. When folks are checking in, they get the map, they get the car pass, and they get a little strip of the new COVID rules that I've listed here as far as keeping your distance from staff and strangers, 3 people inside the bathhouse, and cover up on the face if you're in the bathhouse, if you're not washing or brushing. It seems to be a little more compliance with the face mask since the governor made it mandatory a week or so ago. Everybody certainly has masks, and with a quick reminder, they're using them. We also have a bunch of the Visit Cook County buffs that I think I see Paul wearing, that stylish blue buff, and we're giving out those to guests as they check in as well. So everybody's getting along for the most part. The weekends are going smooth. The unpicnic is always kind of that peak of what we used to be the busiest weekend. Now it's all downhill from here. not really seeing that in the books because we're booked tonight, we're booked tomorrow night. I mean, it's every night booked for the next couple, 3 more weeks. There's a little break at the end of August, but right back into it for Labor Day weekend being sold out, as well as most weekends all the way through October. So strong demand continues. Like I said, off camera before the meeting, the boaters are flocking to us as well now with the really nice weather, the warm water. Seeing a lot of big transient boats coming and going to Isle Royal and back. So the marina is very busy as well. Any
Dave,
questions?
are you seeing a lot of first-time visitors to the park?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Like young families, tenters, first-time RVers, absolutely. Yeah, they're finding us online easily. We're do a pretty good job with our web presence and optimized sites and that sort of business. So folks are finding us. The trick is getting them in. You know, the phones have been almost too busy, or we've been too busy with the guests in line to get to the phones. But every time we do, it's hard to get to what people need, which is, you know, a couple, 3 nights in a row over the next month. And we don't have that in the inventory right now. It's so tight. We have like 1 night only options. And most of those are new folks that are just desperate to get up to the North Shore and get out of the city and get to the cool Northwoods. So I believe Cascade State Park opened today, the campground at Cascade, or sorry, yesterday, Monday the 3rd was their target date for opening. I saw Peter Mott, the manager, and he was happy to announce they are open now down at Cascade. I didn't get an update on Judge Magny, but hopefully that relieves some of the pressure with those guests that have been showing up at those parks and didn't know they were canceled. That was a pretty daily occurrence around here where we were absorbing the state park campers. And luckily we have those first come, first serve drop-in sites. Those have been very handy. We've also been using the vacant monthly sites that were either Canadian or Americans that were unable to make it this year. So nice to have that inventory. The drop-in first come, first serve has been full every night and big lines in the morning too. You know, we open at 8 a.m., but they're lining up the crack of dawn for those drop-in sites every day of the week. Lots of new folks, lots of trash. You know, we talked about this last time with all the to-go boxes and kind of the disposable lifestyle nowadays. I'm seeing, you know, lawn chairs and tents and tarps and stuff in the trash now. We're like, you know, let's just say city folks just buy it all and throw it all away. And it's sad, but true. But we're doing a great job. The trash man's doing great. The G&G septic. I mean, we got some critical services down here that we rely on contractors, and North Shore Waste and G&G are really on the ball for us, and they're giving us daily service and really stepping up. We've added porta potties to both the downtown city public restrooms right outside, as well as out at Bathhouse 4, as we're in those facilities more, cleaning them more, and they're closed down more, and folks are really like needing to go. And so now they have the porta potties to use. And that's been a huge relief for our cleaners to not be running so much traffic interference. You know, sorry you can't come in was a real full-time job for the cleaners. We were almost to the point of assigning them like a bouncer wingman to just handle the crowds, especially downtown at the public restrooms. You know, with all this, most shops aren't allowing folks to use their public restrooms, so that there's been a big crush of the porta potties and the city hall restrooms.
David, have our expenses for this year been up because of COVID-19, or are they about the same, or do we know?
We've certainly been spending more on like porta potties, for example, cleaning supplies. A lot of that stuff's kind of just marginally more, you know, $1,000 more, $1,500 more, that sort of stuff we can absorb easily. We don't really get into P&L sheets at this time of the year, but I can say like expense-wise, we haven't suffered any big expenses. We haven't had to spend big money because of COVID. It's just, you know, for our cleaning supplies and cleaning gear, we've, I think, been buying more PPE. We've been buying more masks and face shields and that sort of stuff, but it's pretty reasonably priced stuff. So we have saving money on.
Do we have any more staff than last year?
What was that, Steve?
Do we have any more staff than last year?
Yeah, I was just going to touch on staff. I believe we're less. We're actually leaner outside by at least 2 individuals. I know we're saving money on part-time seasonal staff, just in our outside crew being 6 instead of 8. We're also not maintaining or chalking and dragging and doing all the ball field work that on a typical summer, we take care of like the community ed, summer t-ball, little league, baseball, softball programs. Even though they're sort of a county program, half this stuff is up at Pappy Wright Field, county property, but it's just always been a tradition for our staff to maintain those fields and chalk them and drag them. And it was a good, probably 40 hours a week that those ball fields consumed. And so without that work, we've been able to get by with a little less of the outside seasonal staff. And those that are in are really dedicated and sticking to their shifts, and I'm really lucky to have them.
Good.
Dave, the addition of the picnic tables to Harbor Park have been really, I think, welcomed. I think even after COVID, keeping some of them down there because they're used. Families are there all the time.
I couldn't agree more, Sally. I noticed that a lot in my rounds, and even going out to the Coast Guard Point. We put one out by the boat launch there, and it's all day, every day busy. It's the big 8-footer, so families can get on those. And there's no reason we couldn't keep those there, into the coming seasons.
It's been a nice addition. I wanted to bring up that the Garden Club had looked at some of the trees in Harbor Park and thought some of them were not in good condition and wanted to make a donation. And we haven't met as a group, but I did say that I didn't feel that it was the time because if we reconsider doing some things in that park, it seems like that would be a better time to install new trees than to partially do things. But I wanted to relay that to you, that was part of a discussion and get your input on it.
Yeah, no, thanks, Sally. This has been on my mind too. Harris is doing as best as he can down there, but the thing has really gotten away from us as far as grass and weeds and volunteer saplings. And the time is coming soon to do a comprehensive redo, 5-figure type of capital expenditure down there. Mm-hmm. We would welcome donations and or volunteer, garden club labor when maybe it's next spring, if we get our ducks in a row.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and also, are we going to be having next community connection taking place this year, that installation, or not?
Boy, that's a great question, Sally. I haven't heard much. Mike Roth and I downtown, he mentioned this a couple months ago, was probably the last time I heard about this, where it was scheduled for this year, but we haven't seen plans. We haven't seen a budget. That's something I'll have to follow up on.
Okay.
I think when Mike and I last talked, because it was getting on so late, it was more of maybe a phased type of project where we would just be able to do what's in the right of way this year because of MnDOT's timing, and then we could complete the rest that's outside of the right of way on our timeline. But I'll have to follow up on that. That and the PUC garages, we were keen on getting those down this spring, and that too was paused. So I've got some projects for the fall.
Is the big sign going up back where it was before, or is something different supposed to happen?
Steve, now's our chance to think of something different, or we want to plan something different. We looked at that a couple of years ago when the initial project was being scoped and priced, and we sort of, if you recall, we were looking at $100,000 monument style sign. We weren't really keen on that. And so we have the ability to design and install what we would prefer. And that too could be a great off-season project.
I think waiting may be to our benefit, because I think seeing what the rest of that is going to look like prior to selecting a sign is really to our advantage.
That's right. And as long as that brown MnDOT sign that's municipal campground is still there, that's the one they all see and take a ride with. So we're doing just fine with folks finding us. It's nice they got the bulk of the construction done up there. I think they just have one more finishing layer to do next time they're out paving. But yeah, that was a tough month of July when they were up there and grinding and cutting and beep, beep, beep at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing my golf course sign though.
I bet you are. I got it. I got it in the shop.
It occurred to me that the city has 3 revenue generating and 4 large public use places. We've got the liquor store, we've got the rec park, we got the golf course and the library. And many towns have things that say, when you come into the town, here are all these wonderful things we have in this town. And so I've been thinking of a sign maybe up on the top of the hill that would advertise all 4 of those city things as people are coming in, and they could put it on the city's property up there where they do the maintenance thing. And I think the only thing is somebody needs to cost out what a reasonable size sign that would advertise all 4 of them might look like. I wonder if we can get that.
Well, yeah, that's something we could talk about, Steve. I mean, I know you've been a fan of those highway signs. I'm not, but I can definitely put someone on it.
For what it's worth, the golfers that I talk to say, thanks for the signs.
Yeah, well, sure, it's recognition. I'm not so keen on like the people just showing up in town with an RV, kind of looking for an RV park and needing a sign for us. Personally, they find us either way, and yet it's a good idea. You're right.
It's a pretty artistic town too. I don't see any reason why we couldn't hold some type of contest for a sign for the RV park, and do something with that. I mean, there's so many talented people in this town. It'd be kind of a neat way to draw people.
I'm sorry, Rita. Go ahead.
That's okay.
If we're going to have any kind of intelligent discussion about a sign, setting aside whether it's a good idea or not, we'd at least to know what it would cost or get some order of magnitude. Could you have somebody, is it you or Patrick or somebody, take a look at what maybe there's a big sign down in Silver Bay. Maybe you could just call Silver Bay and see what they say, the visitor center or the chamber down there.
I can look into it, Steve. I think it's more of a matter of what do you want to pay is how those signs work. There's not a formula for cost. It's a budget that we want to adopt. So the more you spend, the bigger and better sign you get. But again, we don't need it. Personally, the park doesn't need it. The golf course
Can we
maybe.
add this to an agenda later on in the fall, rather than in the summer during the height of everything else? But just add it to an agenda sometime, and then we can have a more comprehensive discussion on that.
That would be fine. When it comes on the agenda, we need to have some notion of cost, or it's just a discussion not worth having.
Yep. We'll look into it.
Okay.
All right. So we got the 2021 reservation policy out now, loud and clear, typed up, handing it out at the door now. We just got through all of our fishermen's picnic people that were all lined up here in January. So they were really like, what's the deal with this year or next year? What's the deal? Here's the deal. 6 months ahead, we allow the wraparound at the end of the month. We give them a steep penalty if they adjust those dates later. The one caveat here is January 1st is a paid holiday for us. It's also a Friday this coming January. So, maybe I'll come in just to just to prevent a bunch of, meltdown over the weekend, because I'm that kind of guy, but we're technically not in until Monday the 4th to answer the phones and deal with the line. And so that's the one day that could be a stinky mess up. The online booking machine, we've been in touch with Book Your Site. They assure us that we have the bandwidth and that they'll be all set and ready to go January 1st at 8 a.m. But I don't trust it. I'll believe it when I see it. And so we're still going to be really busy,
You're first at 8 a.m. You're only going to be booking out a little bit in advance. You can't be booking fisherman's picnic on that day, or
you can though, Sally. That's the cheat, is you could book late July through early August, right? Because the picnic always falls within the first weekend of August, and we allow.
They need to stay the end of July.
Yeah.
Into August.
And so just like 4th of July, for example, you could book in December if you book a late June through early July. And so we're not advertising that widely, but it's what's going to cause a little more commotion when people maybe think they can go on February 1st to get their picnic date. And guess what? It's going to be heavily booked because of the wraparound.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no easy way or no fair way, but we'll do the best we can.
And they'll incur $100 penalty. I assume we talked about reservation cancellation, increasing those penalties, but I'm assuming that'll be when we do our budget for next year's rates.
Yeah, I don't think that'll play too heavily into the budget, Rita.
No, I
mean,
just
I-
meant, we talked about changing the policies for cancellation fees.
Yeah,
Will that go along with when we do the budget for rates or when we do the meeting for rates?
yeah, that's right. Yep.
What
Okay.
month do we do the budget?
Paul, well, it's draft budget season, so Park Board doesn't do as much work as City Council. We certainly rely on the Park Board for like the rate adjustments. And so as we work on our draft budgets over the next month, I'll be like floating that idea of just sort of that marginal rate increase, maybe 3% or so is what I'll build into the budget, unless anyone's got really strong feelings now. But we'll plan on talking about rates at the September meeting so that we can have them approved by the October meeting, so we can do all the computer work and get the computers ready for November, which is when we start booking for May. So definitely over the next two meetings, September and October, we'll get into rates and budget in 2021. So we got a Park Board seat vacancy. I'm just putting that out loud and clear so we can get some applicants. You got to be a city resident and available on the first Tuesdays of the month. So obviously, if you guys know friends and neighbors that are interested, like pass it along. City Hall is the clearinghouse for applications and information, and City Council does the appointment. And then the last item I'd like to touch on is the Brian Dubois email that was forwarded along this afternoon. Brian's been a very, very loyal guest over the years, as you see from his email, I think nearly 30 years. And so we had 5 Canadians that were affected by the closure and the stored on-site trailer. And I talked to all 5. 3 of the 5 were okay with the $500 and paid the $1,500 amount. 2 of the 5 were not. Brian's one of them, and his email speaks for itself. I just open for discussion now.
I think we are past that and people have already paid. So I think we have to create a whole new motion then, I suppose, if we want to reduce to accommodate that rate.
I can understand his,
Yeah,
If we were
how hard
inclined
that
to
is.
reduce
However,
the
if you
cost,
understand how
Yeah, I
much
don't
we rely on
feeling
each
about it.
site and what each site generates, it's a great loss to us not to be able to rent out the sites. So if we get
Yes.
down to a storage rate, I think that's asking a lot of the park. I know COVID is inconvenient, but we've had additional COVID expenses and we can't use the sites for anything else. So
I think I'm okay with holding to our policy, but I think Dave should write back to him with the kind of explanation that you've offered, Sally. And if you want to do the writing to him, that would be fine too. But I don't think that the letter deserves a response, and a sympathetic one, even if we say no.
Oh, I'm intending to respond, no question. I believe they'll be watching this meeting as well, so they'll be hearing this firsthand, but I would definitely follow up. One of the sort of the sore spots when I spoke with the 2 parties that were not pleased was my position, and that I didn't do enough to advocate for them. And so I certainly feel bad about that, where as a manager, I'm really caught in the middle here. These are great guests. We value their business. We don't want to lose that.
I disagree. I feel like that it was brought up at the meeting and we did bring it up, discuss it, throw figures back and forth. I don't believe that you just ignored that people had that question and concern, Dave.
Well, thanks, Peter.
Yeah.
And I do
Thanks.
think, Dave, part of the issue is we're already have less revenue due to not being able to open it in the traditional way on time, the added costs for the PPE and the extra cleaning, and then to give a larger discount. It's really not within our means to accommodate everybody to that degree.
And
I
we
think
should-
I think
We should
this
take
was the
Dave off.
fairest offer we could make.
We should take Dave off the hook explicitly because he raised the general question. We were the ones who came up with that number. And if there's anybody to be mad at, it's us, not him.
And he did say what great guests they were at the time he brought the issue forward.
And that the exchange is not so good. So I do care about these people, believe me, and
Yeah.
thank you for your support in this, because I am caught in the middle, but it is a bit awkward. And, you know, I get it. I know what these sites are valued. I know the ones that haven't stored on site that we've been able to use as drop-in sites and nightly sites are going to come back, you know, yielding $4,000 or $5,000 on those sites this summer is the take on a empty site that we can use all summer.
Right.
So a 1,500 versus 4,000. I mean, that's the bottom line here.
Well, and they do have the option to have someone move their RV to storage at their own expense and then not pay. We did give them the option that they would be able to not have to pay the summer rate if they moved it.
That's right.
I know that's inconvenient. I do understand that, but there was another option.
That's right. And I really put that out there as something I could help with. You know, I know there's physically, we wouldn't be the contractor moving the trailer, but I would certainly be available to help with the rugs and the lawn chairs and the, you know, stored, you know, items. But it was not, the folks weren't interested in this at all. It wasn't, in their mind, it wasn't doable. There was like dishes inside that would need to be put away and that sort of business.
Sure, understandable, but yeah.
Well, I think Sally summarized it really well in her first statement about the loss of revenue associated with an empty site and with how much we like having their business. And that was where we came up with the $500 was a compromise rate because these people did not create COVID-19. And we all have issues surrounding that, you know, including not going anywhere.
Anything else,
Well,
Dave?
I believe I have what I need. I'll be sure to follow up with Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you all.
So
I
You're
do have
done?
one suggestion for the future. And that is most of the groups I've been part of like this have items on the agenda. One is old business and the other is new business. And we don't necessarily have to do something with any of those either time, but I think it would be appropriate to have those items on the agenda in case there happens to be any either old business or no business.
That's true, Steve. I've seen that. We can sure add that as a
Thank
kind of
you.
yeah, just a running agenda item.
okay.
Great.
All righty. So motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Yep, second.
Second, okay. We're all in favor.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn in a second. And
And-
so all in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Have a good evening, everyone.